I'm impressed with the references in this work particularly, but in the whole series that it belongs to modernist forms, tropes, and ways of thought. Because you set up a cubist presence driven by color, like Sonia Delaunay or František Kupka, or even Hilma af Klint, except af Klint, of course, was not a cubist, but she was all about form and color. I can see that kind of thinking emerging here.
There's a lot in common under the surface with her, too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ultimately, Paul Klee as a kind of didactic counterpart to her spirituality.
Yeah.
I mean, he was spiritual too, but
Right.
in this quiet, subtle way,
Right.
this pedagogical way almost.
There's this kinetic sense as well as this stability of the grid.
The kinetic sense suggests Kandinsky, which of course brings us back to the concern for the spiritual. Presented raw with Klee and Kandinsky, it becomes something to design, to extend to students.
Absolutely. And the universal forms.
The universal forms that are expressed personally.
Yeah, exactly. So this piece isn't really reflective of the series, although it's related to it, because the elements of this piece and the forms and the colors and the painted pieces that are collaged onto it are taken from work that was done for those pieces. The Prismatic series started back with the interest in elemental forms that you're so familiar with in my work with the switch plates and all of that. And as I explored those forms, I became very interested in sacred geometry and how those forms relate to that, and moving beyond the material forms, because I was so interested in all of the relationship between material forms and abstract and this.
And
yes,
the immaterial.
Exactly, and the immaterial world. These pieces still explore that, but more abstractly and sort of freeing from the material work, moving away from those actual objects.
Very much greater fluidity in these, not simply in the composition or even in the palette, but even in the drawing rendition and the application of paint. Everything is slightly dissolute, as if we're about to come together or about to disappear.
And yet it's anchored by the graph paper and the grid.
Exactly. But those two are fading.
Yes. There's an openness to it.
Breathing. With every intake, it comes into focus. With every exhalation, it dissolves again.
And I think that's critical to this whole series and the sort of reflective nature of all these forms.